What is going on, guys? Today we are talking about the idea of humans having superiority over animals, whether or not it's morally justifiable, and just uncovering the philosophical aspects of it. And today I actually have a special guest, Eli Roberts, who will be joining me to intro the segment, and he will be talking about his commitment to Bellarmine University. Go Knights! And let's do this on episode 10 of Considered Done. Here we go. Welcome back for another segment, guys. I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be kind of another raw, unedited episode where I actually have brought on a guest for episode 10. We have been doing very well, and we made it through the 10 episodes so far, and it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed doing it. Definitely enjoyed you guys being there and listening and giving me really good feedback about it, being active on my social media. It's been huge. It's been a game changer. And I'll actually be doing something special once we get into the topic later on in the segment where I read some of your all's responses to an Instagram poll that I put up this morning. But like I said, today I'll be joined by a very special guest. I'll go ahead and let him introduce himself.
I'm Eli Roberts. I got a DuPont manual. I'm a senior. Me and you are buddies at school. And he's been following me during my basketball season. And I committed to Bellarmine.
Yeah, I've actually been doing a documentary project about Eli for most of the year now, and we're not taking a pause right now because of Corona. I'm just been working on footage that I have so far, and then we're probably going to revamp it all up once everything starts to reopen and Corona dies down. And for those of you who don't know, last week's podcast was on Corona. It was called Corona Comfort, and we talked about the idea of being able to cope with being inside and not being able to go out and explore that much, or at least around people, and what we should be thinking about and what we should be putting in perspective as we approach a very interesting time in our lives. And like Eli said, we go to DuPont Manual, but it's kind of like we went to DuPont Manual because more likely than not, it might be the last time we step foot through those doors, which is very sad indeed. It is sad, but it's just. It could be a possibility just with how Corona is these days. So if you guys haven't had a chance to check that out, go ahead and give it a look. I think you guys won't be disappointed. But for the first 10 minutes or so, I'm going to let Eli talk to you guys about his recent commitment. So like I said, I've been following him around most of the year, kind of like in a creepy stalker way. I've been filming most of his movements in school, and we've done a bunch of stuff out of school. And I've basically been trying to uncover what it's like to kind of make a college decision when you're an athlete, and what it's like to kind of follow your dreams and play the game that you love at the highest level. And because Bellarmine just moved to Division I within the last 3 or 4 years or so, and they're making the jump actually, I believe this year to start. I think it's Athletic Sun? Is that the conference that they're in?
Yes,
That's right. They just got the invitation a couple years ago, and now they're starting to gain that ground. And so I'm going to let Eli talk to you about what went into his decision. So Eli, just to start off, tell me about what it was like kind of going through the decision process. I know you had multiple other schools looking at you. I know you had other D1s looking at you. Tell me what went through your mind during the process.
The process was definitely interesting. It's not white and black at all. A lot was kind of going through my mind with the decision. I was thinking about, my family, my education, and obviously the athletic side, because that's all part of what I'm looking for in a college experience. And really, Bellarmine checked all those boxes the best for me. Close to home, financially, I had the most scholarship opportunity there, along with basketball. And then, like Ewan said, the basketball is transitioning to the highest level of college, so D1, and that's exciting and appealing to me because I want to be able to play at the highest level and best level possible. And it was actually very hard telling my decision to other coaches that I had developed close relationships with. I know they spend a lot of time recruiting me, calling me, texting me, coming to games. That's travel time alone is crazy for some of these schools. And I really appreciated that. And just telling them, that I'll be continuing my career at Bellarmine, it was exciting, but it was also kind of it was a bittersweet because it was an end to that recruitment. But hopefully I can remain friends with many of those coaches. So.
Yeah, and I definitely think even though it was probably really hard to do, I feel like a lot of players don't do that. They don't call the coaches that recruited them and just say thank you, because these guys, they're on the road, they're spending time away from their family and stuff like that. They're traveling far just to come see you play and be able to report that back to their superior or whoever's in charge of the athletic department. And that's huge. And, it's something that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of patience also, like you said,
Definitely.
because you had schools looking at you down deep in the South. You had people, you had Virginia, people from
Yes.
Virginia looking at you. So, it wasn't short distances. And,
No.
and I know, you Chicago, there's people that have made ways and, made these strong efforts just to come see what you do. And I think you recognized how important that was and how you needed to at least appreciate that. And I think
Yes.
that was really crucial when it came time to make your decision, being able to call those coaches and just tell them thank you. But I don't think it's something, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it's something that a lot of players do that often.
No, actually, because saying that, it's like explaining like all the things that they do uh, to recruit us as players. Like I was shocked for them being like, thank you for this. Like not just thank you for telling them, but like thank you, because a lot of kids don't do that, and it seems like crazy to me, because like it's only logical that someone, they have a wife, a family, kids, friends. They're not there that Friday night at home, watching a family movie. They're at your game 4 hours away, and that's a big deal. I mean, it's a big risk because there's no guarantee that you could go there. So I think at the very least you should show some gratitude for that.
Yeah, and I know that you did that with those coaches, but you also had a really strong relationship with Scotty Davenport, the coach of Bellarmine.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah.
did you? I didn't ask this when we did like documentary stuff. Did you ever like go to any of his camps, or did you do anything with Bellarmine before? Because I know you guys had a prior relationship, at least where you
Man,
guys knew of each other.
definitely. Believe it or not, I've been going to that camp since like third grade,
Third
and
grade.
yeah, to the oldest age limit. So like I think it was like 15, something like that. But yeah, it was my freshman year. But yeah, I've known him for a very long time, and obviously when I'm younger, you're just one of the kids. But as I got older and better, I kind of developed relationships with the players, and me and Coach Davenport, used to talk a lot more often. I remember one year I got moved up to the older division, and he told me he was doing that, and I was kind of like shocked. And he's the head coach, and little me is like, oh wow, like he's talking to me.
Hmm.
So I definitely respect him a lot. But yeah, we've known each other for a long time. My brother went to those camps. Him and my dad have talked a lot. Um, but yeah, and I credit that camp to some of my playing ability, because that's the first time I really got to play a lot in that scenario against other players, against older kids. So I think that really helped prepare me for later on down the road in high school, actually.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think a lot of people can relate to the story in the sense that like we all went to like different basketball camps. I went to Calipari basketball camp when I was a kid, and it like little did I know I was not making it to the NBA. I thought I had a chance, but no, Bellarmine, my brother went and stuff like that, and he loved it, and like everyone knows, like this whole city knows what a great coach Scotty Davenport is. I mean,
He really is.
he really has made Bellarmine like just like a cornerstone program. Like, very, very solidified over the years. And it's been impressive to see them just like come up. And I'm sure you're excited to be a part of that, aren't you?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, like that's one thing, because I literally like lived it as a camper. I think it was the year they won the national championship, and
Yeah.
like the Final Four, like uh, I think it was like 2 years in a row later or something like that. But just a great success, and like just watching them like get better and better and better, and I'm just like, man, like it was crazy. And he always used to say like, to the campers, he's like, this player here, he was a camper in y'all's shoes, like right now. And I used to be like, it's funny because I used to be like, man, that'd be kind of cool. And look at me
Yeah.
now, I'm doing it. Uh, so, but
I
no,
bet it
yeah,
feels surreal.
I'm very excited. No, yeah,
Surreal.
it
Yeah.
honestly feels like a dream, because like I used to dream of, like I used to get ready for camp and be like, man, like I could be a player there, and like here I am. So it's just it's very exciting. It, I'm ready to get to work and ready to get started. So
It's
yeah.
going to be crazy when, one day you probably will be helping out with that camp and then you're going to see those campers in front of you. And then you're just going to be like, wow, where did the time go? you know?
That will literally be the summer.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah. It's going to be crazy. And,
Yeah.
I know you built that relationship with Coach Davenport. Did you have a chance to build any relationships with like current players? Did anyone
Oh,
try to reach out to you?
current and past players.
Okay. Okay.
So there's I'm trying to think. Rusty, Coach Rusty, man. He was like I think an All American. I don't know. He's really good. Team captain. I think it was 2 years ago now. But he was my coach, and he coached the AAU team. He used to talk about Bellarmine with me, and just playing AAU with him, and we were really close. Him and his brother. And then I just like now, especially all the players are so cool, man. Like it was almost weird. It was like walking in and knowing everybody without knowing everybody. Like I felt comfortable. It was almost like family already, and I knew that was very special. Um, but yeah, just a great group of guys. Have them on Instagram and stuff and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, now I know you, and a lot of people that listen to this probably know you, but I know that I guess all of us collectively know that family is huge for you, and that you have a
Yeah.
very tight, closely knit connection with your family, who I've had the pleasure of meeting. I believe you're one of four siblings, or you're one of four, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You, Emery, JC. Remind me, what is his full name? Like
John Carver.
John Carver.
Yeah.
Okay, and then remind me of your other sister's name. I always forget it. Cecilia, that's right. That's cool. That's actually like, this sounds weird off the tongue, but that's kind of like what I was thinking about naming my daughter, because if I have one, because my grandfather's name is Cecil, and he's probably one of the greatest men I've ever known. So I didn't want to name my son Cecil. I thought it'd be weird. So I thought if I had a daughter, I would name her Cecilia, because we call him Cece, and I could call her Cece.
Oh, that's what we call her. So,
yeah. So I mean, I think So you got Cecilia, Emery, JC, and Eli. Not sure if that's the right order, but So that's whole family of athletes. Am I right? Yeah. We got volleyball, and JC plays basketball. I know your dad played basketball too. It runs in the blood. It does.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. And so I mean, I know family is really huge for you, and I know it's going to be really awesome because all your younger siblings are obviously still going to be in high school. They're going to get to come watch you play along with your parents, which is going to be just I'm sure it's going to be a great feeling. I mean, this is going to be a very different level, different kind of competitive environment. And your family is going to be, because I know you've been all over the AAU circuit. You played with Matt's Mustangs these past couple summers, and I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to play against like future players that are going to be playing at your level. But this is going to be totally different, and your family's going to be able to witness it right in front of them while you're still here, which is just amazing. Not only with the ability to not have to pay anything for college, but the ability for them to just drive like 20 minutes or so to be at Bellarmine and be able to watch you on any given day, which is just huge. And for those of you who don't know, Eli actually just told me yesterday, but their first two games are against Duke and UCLA. When bigger D1s start out the year, they'll like pay some of the smaller D1s or some of the other schools to come play them at their home court, and they'll get a crap load of money for it. Actually, that's kind of the point. That's why the smaller D1s take it, and they'll just kind of get a feel for it and ease their way into the season. But of course, I can't. One, I hate Duke. Second of all, they lost to Stephen F. Austin this year. I can't really talk when Kentucky lost to Evansville, but college basketball is just nuts. So it's definitely not a good idea to make any judgments about who plays who in any given season these days. But that's going to be so exciting. I texted you this yesterday. You're going to go to California to play UCLA.
It's crazy. Like sitting here saying that, I'm like, wow. Like I've never been to California, and it's like that's my first. That's like the first place I'm going. So I'm definitely like really excited for opportunities, seeing places, and then compete against the best talent. I think it'll help me be the best player that I can be, and that's what I was looking for.
And like I said, you're playing a top tier school like that. That is two top tier schools. I mean, you got 11 national titles in UCLA, a respected program all around, and then you have Duke, coached by one of the greatest coaches of all time. Going to be playing in front of you, and they have a great recruiting class this year. It's going to be insane.
Yes, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're excited. I'm sure you're really, really excited to get to Bellarmine just in general and start.
Yeah.
That's huge. But yeah, I mean, and then I saw your Twitter. I know you tweeted out your commitment. It was yesterday, right? Or was it the day before?
Day before.
Yeah, day before. That's right. So you tweeted it out a couple days ago, and it just blew up. Like I know those commitment
I
tweets blow up, but it blew up quick.
I know. I was actually shocked because I knew I don't really post on Twitter that much as it
Yeah.
is, but so it probably gave everyone the notification. Eli tweeted for the first time in a while, so I was like, okay, it'll get a little bit more than usual. But I mean, I remember I was answering and replying back to congrats and all that, and just saying thank you because I really appreciate that. And I set my phone down to go uh, work out, and I was doing it while I was working out, and I just went for like a 20-minute run, so I couldn't be on my phone. I go back to my phone and I have 90 notifications just from like 20 minutes. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And I'm looking through it, and some of it is kids that I haven't seen since middle school. And I'm like, wow, the amount of support I felt um, was amazing. And I mean, it actually like just from my tweet, I ended up being on the news. Like my dad called me up later that night. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Dominique Yates.
yeah,
He's a reporter with the Courier. He we don't know each other personally, but we've met a time or two. He was really big for reporting in Bowling Green. He actually just made the move to the Courier this past year. Yeah,
mhm,
I saw the article when it came out. People were sharing it around too. I got it from multiple people. My mom sent it to me, which was just nuts because she's been following up and she knows about you. Same with my dad, and it was crazy, and that's when the surrealness kicked in for all of us because we're
yeah.
like, this is real. And your tweet, I'm looking at it now. It's got 389 likes, 71 retweets. I can't really tell the amount of comments, but I have to scroll for quite a while.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah.
and no, I mean, that's just, whew. I mean, you always dream of being able to just do that, send out that commitment tweet, tell people you're going and just be ready, and now you're
Exactly.
ready, which is just insane. And I'm like I said, I'm sure you just can't wait to get on campus, can't wait to meet the coaches, meet the rest of the team, and kind of just get
Mhm.
into the routine of what it's like to, do it at this level.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I cannot wait. Like I told you yesterday, just the fact that I have access to a gym whenever I want is literally like a dream come true. I
Yeah.
mean, I love that. And then just being with, a squad where everyone wants to work and the coaches all in and like it's just everyone's bought in. The the alumni are bought in. Like it's crazy. But I'm just so excited for that.
Yeah, and we're all excited for you. Now, transitioning into our actual topic today, we'll go over this for another 10, 15 minutes to
Hmm.
complete the segment. So I think I told you before, when I got Eli to hop on this, I kind of told him that he'd be talking about himself and that we'd be going over a topic, but I just informed him of what it was. So just to reiterate, it's about the idea of whether or not humans have superiority or dominion over animal life. And that doesn't mean like, that we treat them irresponsibly, doesn't mean we slaughter them. Just the idea that humans are superior as I don't like to say race of people, I just say human collectively, like as humanity,
Species.
we
Yeah.
are we can prioritize ourselves before animals. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So my position, and I know you like me, you're a churchgoer, you're
Yeah.
religious, your family is. My position, I don't like to quote scripture all the time because it doesn't really
Mhm.
relate to my audience. But like where mine comes from starts in Genesis. So in chapter 1, verse 28, it talks about the idea of God getting ready to create man, Adam and Eve. And
Yeah.
while he's creating the earth and, the 7 days, he makes animal life along the way. And he says in verse 28 starting, and God blessed them. And God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth. So, that's where religiously I would sit on it. But of course, I think there's a lot of different philosophical aspects you can explore when talking about this argument. Now, you don't have to, of course, fully agree with me, but where do you think your perspective would lie before we start?
I agree. I'm gonna call it wiggle room. There's some wiggle room with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, like humans have basically taken over the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's not a line like as president or something like that. But I do think that there's, we should treat them with like respect and equality because we are. I mean, we do share the same home. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's right.
Uh, but I do feel like that dominion, if we have that over them, that it should be used in the right way. Like I was just thinking about this earlier. Um, you know, like there are certain people that, abuse animals,
Yeah.
poaching. I'm sure you know all about that.
Big game
And
trophy
so
hunting, of course.
exactly
Yeah.
right. So it's our responsibility to, have dominion over them and like protect those animals. You know what I'm saying? So like
Mhm.
that could be like a way we exercise that. I guess you could call it. I don't want to say superiority, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Over
it's a
animals
weird
essentially.
word. It is
Yeah.
weird, and it's weird to kind of say. And but like I mean, and of course, there's big words used in that passage. I mean, he literally says, "Take the earth and subdue it." Now, it's like I think I definitely agree with what you're saying, and I think a big thing that humanity has to recognize, and not even humanity, just us as believers, that yeah, we have these responsibilities, but these responsibilities are being left with an imperfect humanity, a very flawed
Exactly.
and evil humanity sometimes, which is
Yeah.
it's really difficult. It doesn't make it any less true that we have responsibilities to take care of our earth and to take care of its wildlife and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I think, of course, you have the people, a lot of people that just like screwed up, whether it's poaching or like I said, the big game trophy hunting,
Yeah.
abusing animals. Like, like of course there's like dog fights all over this country and
Right.
stuff like that. And of course overseas dogs and stuff like that are beaten. I mean, or even eaten, which is just,
Yeah.
it's
No.
awful. Um,
Yeah.
but I do think there's, of course, a line you have to draw to when you say, okay, this right here is healthy. This right here is
Hmm.
not okay. Now, we talked about obviously poaching and big game trophy hunting. What do you think about hunting to counter stuff like overpopulation?
Uh, Obviously, I feel like it's more necessary.
Yeah,
Because I mean, that's if it's to equal out the ecosystem, and probably overpopulation is probably due to some type of human influence as it is. So again, I feel like that's practicing maybe dominion in I don't want to say the right way, but maybe a more correct way. Uh, but I guess I would agree with that.
yeah,
Again, I would want not just to kill the animal and throw it aside. Like if you're gonna kill it, use it, all of it if you can. Don't waste a life like that because
yeah.
it is still a living thing, and I think we should respect all living things.
And of course, I mean, of course, this is again from Eli and I's believer lens. But of course, even though we can like do those things, God still calls us to, I mean, respect the fact that He created the earth and He created the wildlife, and the fact
Yes.
that He told us to take care of it. He told us to, He told us to act responsibly. I mean, and so it's like the same way we're supposed to treat our bodies. The Lord says that our bodies are a temple, and that's why stuff like gluttony or overeating is considered, sinful, right?
Yeah.
But of course, we make that mistake all the time. I know everyone does, and
Yeah.
it's not. And of course, like we don't look at gluttony like we look at like other crazy
Yeah.
things, like like
Yeah.
murder or
Exactly.
just real crimes against humanity. Now, in God's eyes, that's a different story. But I know that
Mhm.
we disregard gluttony a lot of times. But of course, it's definitely important to recognize when we are killing an animal, like you said, that we are using it for like resources like meat. And a lot of people say, well, look, we don't need meat. Of course, we can just eat like, we can use the earth's like vegetation to eat. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying that they're wrong, but at the same time, I mean, it all comes down to back to the like philosophical argument. Is the needs of humans more important than the ideas of animals living? Because of course, I'll let you expand on this in just a sec, but whether or not humans kill the animals, they're likely to be killed anyway, because that is how. And and a lot of people that make the animalistic like evolutionary argument and say that humans are animals and we're equal to them. Okay, well, if we're equal to them, why don't we just act as if it's all a continuous food chain, right? And that we can eat the animals just like an animal would eat them below us in the food chain.
Mhm.
Now, of course, you have like, I mean, even back then when dinosaurs roamed the earth, you had certain dinosaurs that only ate plant life. But of
Right.
course, you had what were those? Were those herbivores? Is that what
Yeah.
they're called?
Yes. Yeah.
And I
Yes.
think the dinosaurs that ate meat and plants were omnivores. Yeah,
Omnivores. Right.
and then you have your carnivores, of course, who eat meat.
Exactly.
And
So bam, bam, bam.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, but like no one's gonna say anything about animals eating each other, of course. But if you consider humans animals and you consider us equal, do you see where that could be a
Right.
little bit? Yeah, here, I'll let
I
you go
I,
ahead and
de-
touch on that. Yeah,
I definitely see where that can be conflicting with viewpoints because at the same time, if we're animals, other animals eat each other,
yeah,
and if we're different from animals, which I think we are, uh, then I can see where people say that we shouldn't eat animals. And actually, I actually was vegetarian 4 weeks in my season. Not a lot of
Really?
people know that. I just trying it out because I saw this documentary on Netflix talking about the benefits of it, and so I just
Yeah.
wanted to try it out. It's a little side note, but so I know that's definitely possible to survive. I'm an athlete. I did fine on it, but at the same time, different people have different needs. And again, if I think we should treat animals equally, but there is a difference between animals and humans, and that difference we should use for positive benefit, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like what separates us from most animals is our intellectual abilities.
Yes, that's
You
correct.
know, so we if having that, we should use it for good and the benefit of the world. So that's just my take on it.
Yeah, no, and I definitely agree with most aspects of what you said. And I think that it's important to recognize when we've gone too far.
Yeah,
Obviously, needlessly slaughtering animals just for game or for hunting, and that's not what we should be doing. Obviously, I mean, people may disagree about whether or not we need meat, but
hmm
it does supply a large portion of our population. Whether it's because
yeah,
remember, there's tons of communities out there that are either rural or just aren't developed, and a main source for them is hunting. I mean, of course, and you have
yeah,
that in a lot of like not I don't want to say third world countries, but you have it in a lot of places that aren't, like villages, like all around the world
hmm
that just aren't, I guess, what we'd call urbanized. And
yeah,
their means is vegetation, but they also hunt. And so, I'm not saying that meat is of the utmost necessity for human life to sustain itself, but
yeah,
at the same time, are we going to take that away because a couple people have issues with the idea of animals being, killed for that purpose? I mean, no, I think that's the point of the debate. That kind of brings me to my next thing. So for those of you who don't know, I put a poll on my Instagram this morning, actually, and the poll kind of asks the question that we've been talking about the whole time. Do humans hold dominion over animal life? Right now, it's currently sitting at 73% yes, we do hold dominion, and then 27% no. But every time I do a poll, and Eli, I'm not sure how much you see them, but every time I do a poll, I give a yes or no option, and then I say why. I usually purposely try to leave out my own opinion, just because, like, I realized after a certain incident a month or two ago that, like, I don't want to accidentally skew people or mislead people or try to make them like side just based on what I think. So now I just kind of leave it there, and so I've gotten a good bit of like a good variety of answers. And I think what we're going to do next is we're going to pick a couple out and then respond to them, and then we'll wrap this up. So let me start with one who's kind of against our view. This is a good friend of mine, Claire Meadle. She plays hockey. She goes to our
Oh
school.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, currently walking around with two crutches, as she has since like junior year, because poor girl, she tore both of her ACLs.
Yeah.
Um, and like she was no, she's such a good hockey player. She plays with another friend of ours, Noah Keckler, and it's and she was really good with soccer too. I think she was our goalie for a
Yeah.
good bit as well, but she's always getting hurt. I don't know what it is about that girl. So I know she is really passionate about this. Of course, on the other side, here's what she said. Every being has a right to live and exist in their own space, and the most common argument that I hear for this is that we are the most intelligent being. But in my own opinion, if we really wanted to express our intelligence, we wouldn't be killing our only planet or only sentient beings when we don't have to. Okay, so
Exactly.
I'll let you go ahead and respond to this. Obviously, she kind of has a different opinion than ours. Go ahead,
hmm
have your take on it, and then I'll respond.
So I agree with what she's saying. That's what I was kind of referring to with the intellect thing. Like if we like obviously we have to we should practice this dominion because there are going to be, like you said, we live in a nasty world. There are going to be some people who pollute, who abuse
Yeah.
animals, who kill animals just aimlessly, and so that's when we have to use what separates us in the right way. And so I agree with that last part that she said right there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely like, even though I don't agree with a good bit of the stuff she said, I definitely think I understand where she's coming from. I
Yeah.
do. But again, a lot of people, obviously they don't share our belief exactly when it
Exactly.
comes
Yeah.
to religious grounds, but like at the same time, a lot of people, they kind of value humanity and animal life at the same level because due to kind of a lack of a belief in a type of creator and
hmm
and what we call intelligent design, where everything was placed in a certain way on purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say if that's a certain god or gods or whatever. I'm just saying that's the
Right.
idea.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that, yeah, she's right. I mean, people really screw up our planet, especially lately.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
just how things are. And I still don't understand why we haven't made any efforts to move towards a renewable energy source thus far. There's a big debate on whether or not we should move towards hydro energy, wind power. I'm in favor of nuclear energy, but a lot of people, they hear the word nuclear and they get afraid. It's pretty clean, pretty cost efficient, pretty effective, but that doesn't really matter right now. The point is, there's a lot of people out there that make efforts that screw up our earth, just obviously with either the burning of fossil fuels, and just different various forms of pollution, whether it's in the ocean or in the atmosphere. And I definitely think that's something we have to recognize, that there's people out there doing that, and it's horrible. But I don't think it takes away from the argument that, just because we're not making the right strides to counter that we don't care about the earth. Because remember, we have to recognize that our world is controlled by a very select group of people. Yeah, of course, we live in a democracy. Well, technically, it's a constitutional republic, but we live in a kind of idealistic society, in a sense, where we can vote people in that kind of represent our needs. But of course, no one has the same needs, and no one has the same desires. No one has the same idea of what's right and wrong, And I think it's very important to recognize that even our leaders are going to do very imperfect things because they think it's what's best for society. But I don't think that just because our leaders do that we can't, use animals for the purposes that we've already talked about before. And, but no, I definitely see where she's coming from. I think her, I guess, not distrust in humanity, but I think her criticism of humanity, I think I agree with it. But of course,
that's fair.
For people like us, we believe that, this all comes from the fact that we live in a sinful world, in a world that's not perfect. And and I think it's something everyone can agree on, whether you're religious or not, is the world is not perfect. Now, why you think the world's not perfect, that's your own belief. But, it's very important to recognize that we're never going to have that idealistic society that we want, as much as we try to strive for it. So thank you, Claire, for that. Now I'm going to give us a yes response. This is from my friend Joey Schuster. He graduated last year. He and I have a good bit of talks about different philosophical topics sometimes, and he's also not afraid to speak his mind, which I really appreciate. So Joey said, "We are the only thing that actually shapes the earth and changes its entire landscape." And I think he means this in a physical and non-physical way. We're responsible for any type of change or progress within the earth. Your take?
Yeah. So I'm gonna say yes and no, because I see what he's saying, but at the same time, like we just talked about with overpopulation, let's just say let's go deer, because they're big around here in Kentucky. The overpopulation of deer can actually kill and wipe out certain types of trees. Whether it is, I don't know if I think they either eat the bark or with their antlers, them scraping it can kill off trees and stuff like that. So that's not us doing that. But at the same time, I don't see any animals building cities or schools, and what I'm saying. So obviously in that sense, we're making the change there. But then I do feel I feel like again, some of that is just natural change, like you said, and how everything fits together. And
I think, like I said, it all comes down to whether or not you believe that we are a product of evolution, or whether you believe we're placed on here by a creator, or both mushed together, whatever. No matter what you think about it, it kind of goes two ways. So if we're created and some type of creator puts us here, tells us to respect the earth, we can subdue it, but at the same time, we need to take care of it. We can do that, and we can I don't like to say it like this, but we can basically use animals in the ways that we wish, as long as we do it beyond that line, before we cross it, And then if we're a product of evolution, no creator, just made by science and science alone, we basically are at the same level as animals. Therefore, isn't it just natural? Survival of the fittest, isn't it just natural for us to be able to use our intellect and use our strength and use our resources to kill and eat animal life? So but again, I agree with what Joey said in the sense that we are responsible for all of the progress in society. But of course, I think even though he didn't say this, he probably thinks that, of course, you still have that line that you can't cross when it comes to it.
I'm sure that's implied.
Yeah. And then I don't think we need to respond to this one, but Landon Miller said God made it that way. Of course, doesn't apply to the whole audience, but that's just his viewpoint. And I've already, of course, read about that. This is kind of on the other side. This is on the no side. This is from Ava Kreitman. She says,
Mhm.
I get it like intelligence-wise, but I feel that animals' lives are still valuable, and we can't just invalidate their ways of communication and their societal function just because we don't understand it.
Yeah.
Your take.
And again, I agree with that, and that's fair because I don't know. It's like you said, this is a hard topic to like talk about with the word like superior and
Mm-hmm.
dominion. It kind of sounds like I guess oppressive in a way. It could
It
be.
does, because that's our experience
And
with it in society, you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, and so with everything with what she said, like yeah, we cannot like I don't think an animal is lesser than me. You know what I'm saying? Like obviously our abilities intellectually are different, but we should still use those abilities to treat an animal right, like she said. And but no, yeah, I agree with what she said right there.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And all this kind of makes me think, I feel like we spend so much time and so much effort trying to recognize how we treat animals, but a lot of times we neglect how we treat each other as fellow
That is
human
true.
beings, you know? Like,
Yeah,
cause I be seeing like, I see people get upset like over, those commercials where dogs are in a shelter and need to be adopted or, stuff
yeah,
from like PETA. But oftentimes, I mean, we don't even think about our own problems and stuff
yeah.
like
I
that. And
mean,
I think, and I think that we try to uncover stuff like involving like, animal rights and all that before
mhm,
we recognize that we have our own problems in society and we need to fix our human to human connections because
yeah,
we have people out here killing each other. We have people out here, suffering and stuff like that. And
yeah,
that is awful in and of itself. And of course, we can't combat that overnight. We can't. But at the same time, I find it surprising that people get more upset over animals being in certain types of trouble or experiencing certain types of oppression when we're
yeah.
not even talking about the oppression of the human race. You know?
And yeah, I have a little take on that because I noticed that too.
Yeah.
And personally, I don't like to discriminate like what type of living thing it is. And like if I see something in need, like I automatically either feel bad for it and then want to help. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't feel whichever way. So I feel like personally, I feel like it should be like that. But yeah, I mean, some people will be so quick to I guess either donate money or adopt an animal, which you have to pay for, and feel bad for like say a puppy, like you said. But then
Yeah.
when there's a homeless guy on the street, like dying, you walk over him, you don't even look at him,
Yeah.
and or like you start. I hate when people are like, they deserve it, like they did something to. Because sometimes it's not like that. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
But like why? So with that mindset, the only problem I have is that you're saying that this human is lesser than this puppy.
Yeah.
And when I think it should be like the same, like, oh shoot, that puppy, let's help it out. Oh shoot, that human. And obviously everyone can't just, here I can, because then, I mean that's just not realistic. But I feel like the mindset towards it should be the same, just to help in general. It shouldn't be like, oh, that's a dog. All right, I'm not gonna help it. Human, yeah. Like I don't know. I feel like it should be kind of equal out if it can. That
Yeah,
makes
and like I said,
sense.
when we're avoiding words like superiority and dominion and stuff like that, I mean,
Yeah,
of course, it's implied. And again, a large portion of listeners might disagree, but like it's implied that because we have command over animals, we are higher than them in the sense, at least in a like whether we call it like a food chain or a natural order, we have been placed higher. We have been given command of them because we have the abilities to. And again, that comes from the whole evolutionary versus God argument. Both of them
yeah,
sustain and hold the foundation of the argument that humans are superior because just because things were made naturally that way. But of course, I mean, that doesn't mean you can't care for that puppy. That doesn't mean you can't adopt. That doesn't mean
exactly.
you can't avoid animal abuse. But at the same time, if you're going to try to prioritize animals over humans, that's not the right way to go. You have to recognize that, like, okay, if you're uncomfortable with putting humans first, okay, then try to hold them as equally as possible. But,
Exactly. That's what I'm
you know,
saying.
don't get upset. I mean, I get it. We're natural. Like I get sad too. Don't get upset over the puppy. Move on and not care about the homeless man or care about, the guy that just lost his job or
Yeah.
the single mom who's raising a family all by herself.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean we can change the world by ourselves. But of course, I mean, do what you can, do your part, I guess. Like, help out in your community and do what you can to make an impact there before we're worried about adopting, animals, And of course, you have to recognize lifespan. That's also another thing. I mean, that doesn't mean animals are less in the sense that they don't live as long, but I mean, humans live a pretty long time. And it's much different when an animal who was going to die in 8 years dies prematurely than when a human dies because they didn't have the resources to be able to sustain themselves in the world, or they die, or the mortality rate's different in certain communities because there's not enough fresh produce there, or there's, it's not a safe area. I mean, it's different, and I just think it's something you got to recognize. But those are the responses I kind of wanted to pick out. Do you have any last thoughts on this before we wrap up?
Trying to think, because I'm just thinking about this. It's like what you said with like the lifespan and everything.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I'm just gonna present this question. You don't have to answer it, but I just want people to think about it because I saw it on Instagram. But it was like, you saving a puppy or you saving the newborn baby? You only can choose one.
I don't like that.
I didn't like it either, and but like it's like you think about it and you're like, man, you know what I'm saying? Because like.
Yeah.
Who says one is to die? Like why? Like
it's called a false dichotomy. It's the idea where you're given only two options, and it's the idea that there's only this option A or option B, no other solution.
Exactly, and I don't know. I just think about what you said because I never could answer that question. Like I wouldn't know what to do. Like I would, I would try and say both in the situation, but like because I guess lifespan, an animal, like you said, it's a lot shorter than a human, and again, the only thing that would, I guess, separate us between the animal is the intellectual ability, and so I guess the potential opportunity for that human to do well and to do more, I guess, good on society is something that I also think about when try to keep it equal with helping people and animals.
Yeah, and of course, like you're often not going to be presented with such a dilemma. Have you ever heard of the trolley argument before? Or the trolley dilemma, not the trolley argument. We talked about it in an ethics course that I took for one of my journalism classes. It's basically and we talked about it in my Holocaust class also. You basically are given the option. You're at kind of a split away with train tracks, and there's people tied down on the tracks. There's 4 people tied down on the tracks on one end, and the trolley's lost control. And then there's one person tied down on the other end of the tracks, and it's going 2 different ways. Now it's heading for the 4 people. Now you have the option to move a lever to shift it to go and hit and kill the one person on the track, or you can stay back and do nothing and let it kill the 4 people on the track. And it's basically like picking what you do. You can either pick to move it, you can pick to do nothing, or just let it happen. It's a whole weird thing. And we also talked about similar things. Obviously this isn't about relating to our argument here or our discussion, but we talked about similar things when I was at one of my my Christian leadership conferences, and we were talking about abortion. One of the things people use is, would you drop a newborn baby or would you drop, a fetus? You know what I'm saying? And you got to recognize that when talking about stuff like this, you have to recognize that we as a people are morally deficient, and we're going to choose whatever emotionally we grasp to. But that doesn't determine what's the right answer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Us being more emotionally tied to a puppy and dropping a puppy or not dropping a puppy does not mean the puppies are worth more than that human baby. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of the final word you have to leave off on, that we are imperfect people and we act on impulse and, emotional impulse. But, I think overall, we unraveled the argument pretty well today, and we pretty discussed it in a larger sense. I hope it was interesting to you. I hope it was. It was definitely interesting on my end. And I think asking those big questions in life is kind of why a big reason why humanity is here. So we get so caught up in how we got here, but we don't recognize always what's around us, and that there's so many mysteries that we have yet to fully unravel. But I'm glad you could join me today. Once again, that was Eli Roberts. Eli, you got anything to say?
Just thank you for having me on the podcast, and I just challenge everyone out there, because we did today. Think about both sides of everything,
Yeah.
Because, like we said earlier, everybody's needs are different. Try and do your best to do good to the world.
Everyone was raised with different experiences. Yeah.
Yeah. So just be the best you can be, and all love.
Yeah, and the whole goal is just to try to understand each other in the end. That's all. And that's all we
Yeah.
can really hope for. So thank you for joining me. This has been episode 10 of Consider Done. I hope you guys have the best week, and I will see you again next week. Bye, guys.